Okay, so this is the dream. So Good Food believes in the power of local food systems to achieve this, to promote equitable access to safe and nutritious food, which has gotten more challenging and more pressing as we enter the age of pandemic. I hope this short presentation shows that relocalizing food systems is not a pipe dream. It is possible and there are practical models for it. For nearly a decade, Good Food has been practicing one of them. The ongoing pandemic has shown the weakness of the global supply chain and highlighted the role of farmers as food security frontliners. Preoccupied with the profitable efficiencies of sprawling supply chains and monocultures, the industrial food chain lacked resiliency and led to disruptions, shortages, scandalous dumping of monocrops, and tragic culling of millions of livestock. And it was the local food systems, the peasant food web, the direct farmer to consumer relationships that mitigated and addressed the food supply challenges of communities worldwide. And this is nothing new. Contrary to what the industrial food chain would have us believe, it is actually the peasant food web that feeds majority of the world's population, including its most vulnerable members. Majority of the food crops and livestock production are actually consumed within the country where they are grown. It is not the liberalization of agricultural crops, their free flow from one country to another that feeds the world. And the food production of smallholders are light in footprint compared to the global industrial model, which only feeds 30% of the global population, but uses up 75% of the world's agricultural lands and 80% of freshwater use worldwide. Actually, majority of the industrial food chain's production goes to livestock, biofuels, or are wasted throughout the supply chain. Its products are also linked to chronic diseases, given these are highly processed food products based largely on wheat, soy, rice, and corn, and then jacked up on salt, sugar, and fat. Meanwhile, the peasant food web accounts for 2.1 million varieties and 7,000 domesticated plant species that have been saved, shared, and locally traded, protecting a community's diversity, which is tied to its cultural identity and the heritage on top of and their heritage on top of food sovereignty goals. So Good Food has spent the last decade growing and testing a sustainable solidarity-based solution. We are animated by the statement of farmer, environmentalist, and activist Wendell Berry, where he says eating is an agricultural act. Therefore, we need to reclaim the relationship, the vital interdependence of farmers and consumers that the global supply chain has eroded. As Shar, our founder, says, this means looking to each other for sustenance and eating in such a way to make that mutually beneficial, building health throughout our collective physical health, the health of our soils, the health of our farmers, our consumers, the health of our relationships. Briefly, our model is community shared agriculture, which is inspired by Japan's Teikei system. It started in the 1960s when a group of Japanese women came together and talked to a farmer to directly source safe, fresh food for their families. There was growing distrust in conventional agriculture with its reliance on chemicals and the commercial food industry, which eroded at the necessary partnership between farmers and consumers. Over the last 10 years, we have adapted CSA to Philippine conditions and the realities that smallholders and consumers face, such as the remoteness of farms, the landlessness, poverty, and precarity of smallholders, and the education and lifestyle support of urban consumers so that our model would thrive. We call it Pamayanihan, a portmanteau of the key concepts of pamayanan or community, anihan or harvest, bayanihan or cooperation and solidarity, and pamana, or the legacy of a strong relationship and the commitment between farmers and eaters for a better food system. All these serve as guiding principles for good foods practice. Because of the more direct relationship between farmers and consumers, we all become co-producers with a stake and a say in the food system. We share the rewards, risks, and responsibilities of food production. It can't solely be the responsibility of farmers or activists or NGOs or merely responsible consumption. We all need to participate. This is a partnership and a commitment, which can be quite challenging in conventional food production value chains. This image was actually shared with us by a researcher. A sample value chain mapped early this year or late last year, an actor map of one product, no, broccoli from Benguet to Manila. And when it was our turn to map good foods value chain, it was over in a minute. Farmer, good food, consumer. And the slide captures the value we provide with that more direct connection. And because we are a social enterprise, we make these values actionable through a product, which is the farm share subscription. How does it work? Consumers subscribe to a season's harvest and pay in advance. This arrangement ensures that the farmer has livelihood, so she can focus on growing safe, nutritious food to the best of her abilities, and also assures the consumer of a weekly supply of organic fruits and vegetables that are grown in an ethical and environmentally sustainable manner. So whenever we are asked what we do, vegetable retailer doesn't quite capture it, no? The truth is we try to grow better relationships with the soil, our food, our farmers, our own place and role in the food system with each other. We do this, as mentioned earlier, by upholding the four key principles of Pamayanihan in our operations. There's a lot to share, but what I'll do is focus on a key practice under each one. So Pamayanan. The role of community is paramount in creating resilient local food systems that meet the needs of its stakeholders. Beyond fostering connections between rural farmers and urban consumers, we have started working with PGS Pilipinas to install the participatory guarantee system in our farmers' networks. PGS guarantees the production and equitable distribution of organic food based on the active participation of those who have a direct stake in food security in their community. We really love this practice of PGS because it promotes participation, trust, equity, knowledge exchange, and social networks to achieve its goals. Both PGS and Pamayanihan, or CSA, believe that access to safe, nutritious, environmentally and ethically grown food are possible when the community shares these goals. Anihan. Despite being an agricultural country with year-round growing capacity and rich tropical soils, Filipino farmers are among the poorest and suffer from seasonal periods of hunger, among many other things they face. Central to Pamayanihan is the emphasis of local, seasonal, and biodiverse foods. Under Pamayanihan, crops that we want a regular supply of, for instance, carrots, are grown within a larger system of companion plants and sequential soil building techniques. We need to take care of the soil because soil is one of the farmers' most important resource. The partner farmers of good food follow a modular agricultural system that helps them plan their crops as sources of both sustenance and livelihood. This diversified production makes the farmers more resilient to price fluctuations, inflation, and environmental hazards. It recognizes and respects the cultural significance of certain food crops and protects the genetic diversity of a locale or an entire country through seed exchange and seed conservation among farmers. Most importantly, Anihan prioritizes the food security of the local community, over the goal of penetrating international markets. No, it's not the priority. Bayanihan. So this shows some volunteers of CSA, or those interested in meeting their farmers, helping our Kappa's partner farmers make fermented plant juice. So among the biggest challenges that small farmers face in the Philippines are the lack of access to credit and support in logistics and infrastructure. Pamayanihan helps address these through a solidarity-based economic model. We work with farmers to create a supply plan together and agree on fixed prices and minimum volumes to purchase throughout the year. The purchase guarantee and stable demand, enabled by the prepaid subscription of consumers in Metro Manila, secure their livelihood, strengthening their commitment to organic farming and allowing them to save money and enjoy a living wage. According to one of the organizers of one of the farmers groups that we work with, when they started working with Good Food, it was actually the first time that they were asked what they considered was a fair price for their produce and labor. Small farmers usually have little to no say when it comes to pricing in conventional agriculture and traditional trade. But with Pamayanihan, they are no longer passive price takers. Good Food also builds the capacity of the farmers groups for collective marketing so that they can expand to markets outside their local communities, such as Metro Manila, which also rely on rural farms. And because we have included the urban poor in our ecosystem, we have a solidarity share, which allows subscribers with the means and the social safety nets to avail of subsidized organic farm shares for urban poor families in Payatas. So that's Bayanihan. Pamana. Ultimately, Good Food seeks to create an enduring practical model of CSA that is adapted to Philippine conditions through Pamayanihan. One that reflects in its operations the respect and recognition for the rights and capacities of our farmers, that helps consumers become active co-producers, and recognizes and offers better alternatives using a local solidarity-based approach to creating a more just food system. Sometimes we think it's just about creating an app, no? That's all we need. That all we need is the technology fix and we'll have a better food system. To Good Food, a better food system requires an active participation. It requires coming together and organizing as a movement. There's no app for that. So this is our growing community. I hope I was able to share with you some of the practices of Good Food that allow us to create local resilient food systems, no? And we hope that you can be a part of it. So drop us a line anytime. Thank you so much.